When I say Mega Man, what do you think of? 2D platformers? Turn-based RPGs? Pachinkos? Or a cheesy American cartoon? Over the last 30 years, Mega Man has come in many shapes and sizes. Classic Mega Man, of course, with the evergreen 2D side-scrolling jump-and-shoot content, the X-Series taking that formula and going ham with it, Zero and ZX taking a more Metroidvania approach with an interconnected map and mission-based system, and Legends dungeon crawling or Battle Network and Star Force's turn-based RPGs. Mega Man as a concept just lends itself to a lot of mediums, and I mean, you can throw me a Mega Man Muso game called Mega Man Warriors and honestly, I'd get hype. And how couldn't I? People fighting for peace fueled by their own sense of justice in a world overrun with darkness? That shit is classic tokusatsu, and I don't know about you, but I love a good Kamen Rider story. And it kinda hit me. Outside of X7's attempt at being a 3D game and the cancelled Maverick Hunter X reboot, Mega Man hasn't really done anything in 3D proper. Now, me being a giant fan of Metroid and how it amazingly translated into 3D in the Prime series, decided, fuck it. Let's pretend I'm an executive at Capcom pitching a game. Let's pretend I have full control of this particular new spin-off of Mega Man. Let's make a new take on Mega Man set before Legends that tries to connect the world just a tiny bit more. And here it is, my pitch for Rockman Tamashi. Or Mega Man Spirits, but that's kinda lame. So let's start with the basics. Let's put this between Mega Man ZX-A and Mega Man Legends, after whatever Albert had planned and before the mass flood. Set in a time of relative peace around the year 10,000 XX. Earth has recovered from the decades and decades of robot wars and Maverick attacks. Earth has actually been enjoying relative peace. Humanity continues to be what it was from ZX-A. Reploids and humans are barely distinguishable, and honestly, nobody really cares anymore. Everybody is essentially robotic humans. Up on the moon, however, a group of humans have set up Elysium, a paradise where pure humans can live without aging or disease. They look down upon those they deem impure on the surface of the Earth. On Earth, the title of Mega Man is recognized as given to heroes who fought for peace against evil in eras long ago, and an active effort has been made on remembering the heroics of these people. So much so that a special Mega Man task force has been formed, special armed forces that deal with Maverick threats, each member equipped with data and special armor based on previous Mega Man, specifically Rock, X, Zero, and ZX. One member of the squadron is given special adaptable armor and weaponry not based on any Mega Man that gets stronger over time. His name? Rhythm. But then, a new threat arrives. Suddenly, the dead are rising. Those with any and all robotics in their bodies are rising from their graves and attacking everything in sight. The cost is unknown, and the Mega Man Squadron is sent all over the world to help civilians. While working on a cure, all of the world's top scientists are held at the science capital of the world. Here, a bioengineer by the name of Dr. Warren, at a meeting overseen by the Mega Man Squad, reveals himself to have orchestrated the outbreak and is planning on taking down the capital. 4 members of the squadron and the scientists are infected by a new strain of the virus, and the building is put into self-destruct mode. Rhythm manages to escape and help evacuate people, however, he is too late in rescuing himself and is caught in the explosions as he and the building are sent down into the ruins below the city. Rhythm wakes up a few weeks later. Stirred by the sound of voices, he wakes up surrounded by the rubble of the Capitol building and the sounds of water falling from the pipes. Surrounding him are 5 different digital visages: a teenager, a young adult, a man with a resting bitch face, and twins. With no idea of who or where he is, Rhythm and the 5 spirits navigate the ruins and get out, and this is where the game begins. And that's the hook I would go with, because who doesn't love Amnesiac Protax and zombie robots? If it wasn't obvious, the game would center around the new Mega Man, Rhythm, who's joined by the spirits of previous Mega Man: Rock, X, Zero, Vent, and Ale, as they try to wrestle back control of the world from Dr. Warren and his undead. Joining Rhythm would be Synth, the role equivalent of the spin-off. Rhythm's navigator and head pilot of the air station, The Wave. The main bosses will be the 4 undead saviors, the corrupted members of the Mega Man Squad who have taken strongholds in various countries around the world, corrupted by the date of the Mega Man they represent and taken their ideals to the extreme, joined by their undead enforcers. But what about gameplay? What would I want to do differently from other Mega Man spin-offs? As I already mentioned, this game would copy the style of Metroid Prime, a first-person 3D platformer. You would traverse the various strongholds of the bosses set up around the world that are connected by teleporters. As you progress through the game and unlock more movement and combat options, you can return to these areas and find more secrets. But how would I adapt that signature Mega Man style of gaining powers or new weapons from bosses? While there are 4 main bosses, each of them have one sub-boss, an undead enforcer based around a significant person related to the Mega Man they represent. When you defeat one of these sub-bosses, you gain a new secondary weapon and passive upgrade, while defeating one of the undead saviors will net you an armor upgrade, new traversal options, and weapon choices. You start off the game pretty bare bones. You can shoot, but you can't charge, you can jump, but you can't change direction mid-air, and that's it. But for instance, when you defeat Undead Rock, your armor is changed to more resemble Rock's armor. You're given the ability to change direction mid-air, slide, and imbue your weapon with the 3 elements from Zero and ZX, electric, ice, and fire. Rhythm attunes with the spirit of Rock in the armor of the boss is defeated and absorbs its powers. So, kinda like how in Metroid Prime, as you upgraded Samus's armor, you could progress further into stages. Each boss defeated would layer on top of Rhythm's armor and basically become a hodgepodge of each Mega Man until a certain point in the story, but we'll get there. These upgrades you get are called Soul Forms. Rock Soul gives you the aforementioned abilities, X Soul gives you the ability to wall jump, Charger Buster, a defense increase, Zero Soul allows you to steal the weapons of enemies and bosses, giving you the option to use temporary pole arms, throwing shields, and tonfas. ZX Soul grants you the ability to hover, air dash, full movement through water, destroy breakable terrain, and have full vision in dark areas. The Enforcers, however, while not giving you major upgrades, give you secondary choices and passive upgrades to your stats like health and defense. Undead Blues grants you the ability to use the Proto Shield secondary. Undead Guardian lets you use a second Mega Buster at the cost of your charged for more elemental damage. Undead Shiel lets you use a Cyber Elf to find hidden secrets, and an Undead Model A lets you temporarily steal the abilities of enemies you destroy. Each of the saviors has strongholds, big sprawling areas that come with their own enemy types based around previous enemies related to said Mega Man. Undead Rock is surrounded by classic enemies like Mets and Sniper Joes, just with a nice lick of robot zombie vibes, you know? The strongholds themselves basically follow pretty simple platformer themes, just with a future tech aspect. Like Cyber Egypt or Lava World, but with computers. Alongside this, to tie it into Legends a bit more, any enemy you kill or randomly on the ground, you can find refractors. You can use these refractors on the wave to upgrade the ship. You can teleport to the wave at any point, but it can only teleport you back to specific waypoints in each area. You unlock more as you find them to help quickly traverse each area or backtrack if need be. On the wave itself, you can talk with Synth and the people you've rescued over the course of the game. Here you can accept side quests from the survivors. Trading in refractors to Synth will allow you to, over the course of the game, upgrade the wave into more of a livable area for you and the survivors. You also get your own room, where you can interact with the spirits and have fun little downtime moments where the spirits, Rhythm, and Synth all interact with each other. And honestly, that's basically it. My little pitch for a Mega Man spin-off. If it wasn't obvious, I really enjoy Tokusatsu, in particular Kamen Rider, which Mega Man was very obviously inspired by. Kamen Riders often have this sadness to the main character because they fight for what they believe in, usually going through a lot of suffering but ending up victorious at the end. And I personally feel like that could be a fun aspect to explore with the Mega Man franchise. Like, even as far back as classic Mega Man, depending on the adaptation, being Mega Man is suffering. Rock feels a need to help right the wrongs of his father and fight for peace. X feels guilt towards being partially responsible for the creation of Mavericks in the first place. Zero fought for what he believed in no matter who or what he stood against, and Vent and Ale were forced into a horrible death game they weren't even aware of. Rhythm would basically be a blank slate. It allows us to have the previous Mega Man teach him what exactly it is to don the title, and Rhythm over the course of the game comes to accept and embrace his destiny as a Mega Man. Meanwhile, the Undead Saviors would be the ideals of the previous Mega Man gone to a horrible extreme, kind of like how Copy X branded each Reploid a Maverick who didn't follow his regime. Undead Rock would keep uninfected people locked up while he fought other undead. Undead X would hide away in his tower while his Undead Guardian fought for him. Undead Zero would destroy anything in his way as he protects Undead Shiel, who are roaming a desert wasteland while trying to find a new energy source. Undead ZX protects the peace in his dominion by fighting undead in a countrywide death game, while he fights Undead A to a standstill in this weird game of destiny. Dr. Warren will be the typical evil scientist stand-in. He's contracted by the humans on Elysium to kickstart the population reset and given the virus to do it. The virus ultimately infects him with the last traces of Dr. Wile's consciousness, which has persisted due to just sheer hate even all these years later. He would orchestrate all the events, including the creation of the Mega Man Squadron, to ultimately help him cull the world's population. I feel like making the humans on Elysium the big villain behind the screens is a fun way to tie into Legends and how their systems were dead set on resetting the world's population every so often. So giving them this holier-than-thou, we're pure humans thing would be cool, and make the Master being the last original human a bit more sorrowful when he ultimately decides that the Carbons should be allowed to live on in the world. I would also, obviously, tie the Carbons into being the Reploid humans that have been running around since ZX. Rhythm would start out against the idea of being a Mega Man, especially after hearing of all the suffering the others went through. But the more he warms up to Synth and the survivors, the more he comes to want to protect them, culminating at the end of the game with him fighting against Warren. Finally accepting his role as a Mega Man of the era, he unlocks his own latent power, which can be then used in a New Game Plus run. His appearance would be that of the hodgepodge armor he's gotten over the course of the game, but in true Mega Man Blue colors. And honestly, that's it. That's my idea for a 3D platformer spin-off for Mega Man. It might seem just a tad bit edgy with the zombie robot take, but I think it'd be a cool unexplored option in Mega Man, especially after X through ZX all just have Mavericks as monsters. I also think it'd be a fun way to celebrate all the Mega Men that canonically came before Legends. And honestly, if you like what you heard, tell me. If you didn't like it, tell me as well. What would you like to see in a new Mega Man spin-off? But either way, thanks for watching.